Manufacturers Cup 2026 begins here at the Nordschleife. Jose Serrano leads the field across the line, followed by Kroll, followed by Sedjak and Balding, etc. Then the hard shell runners of Moreno will be in the background. Let's see what they can do as we come down the Dottingerhöhe and head in towards the left-hander as we go over the rise. Will we see any changes for position? Because it's a very long straight, and look at that already, because you've got Sedjak attacking against Maximilian Kroll for second position. We flick it through the left-hander. Kroll does manage to hold on to P2 for now, but at the front of the race, it's Jose Serrano that leads for Porsche.
Yeah, really surprising to not see any big position changes there, given the nature of the run down to, well, what was Garbenkopf now, as we come backwards and sort of make our way slowly towards the Belfast. We're on board with Moreno in the BMW right now, and to be honest, at the moment, there's not really anywhere to overtake for this section. Just try and get close to the car in front. At the moment, Balding and the top four, a little bit of a gap, and that's because they're on that medium compounder tyre. They're going to have a pace advantage early on in this race, so the closer Moreno and the rest of the hard runners can stay to the medium shod drivers, the better, as you watch Sedjak now in third position behind Kroll. Always been very quick in that Nissan GTR, but 6 laps here at the ring, it's going to be a challenge for even him.
Certainly is. On board we are then with Jack Balding as we flick it through this left and then the right-hander through the forest, but in the opposite direction. On board we are now here with the British driver, and as we said, qualifying is one thing. Doing it under racing circumstances, though, is completely different. You can see we're now rising up the hill as opposed to at this particular point when we would be dropping down it. Just a point to mention, by the way, whilst we're on the opening lap of action, we are experiencing a technical issue with the PlayStation account and GT7. Means the viewer campaign isn't working at the moment, but it's a work in progress. You can still watch and claim the gift even after the stream has ended. You've got a couple of weeks, so don't panic if you can't watch it from your PlayStation 5 at the moment. We will get that sorted and you will be rewarded as a result of it. But Jack Balding there, still in fourth place, still pretty static at the front of this race on this opening lap.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming up now to what will be probably one of the overtaken zones. It'll be the run down towards Bergwerk after the carousel here. Let's see if these guys can get through here better than I did. They can, what a surprise.
It's almost like it's their job.
It almost is. Yeah, very difficult way to put the car in there. Like I said, you're under a lot of load coming downhill there, and it's very easy just to get it wrong on the way in as we now come down towards what will be the mud curve at the bottom here. There is Serrano leading away. The gap up to almost a second, so he's almost getting out of slipstream range, which is a good indicator that the pace is there for Serrano and Team Porsche. Although I've got to say, Moreno and Santos there, the hard runners in the BMW and Lexus, doing a good job to stay within touching distance too. So that hard tyre maybe a bit improved over what it was last year.
I suppose that's the name of the game, isn't it, really, when you're on that hard tyre at the moment, is damage limitation, really. If you can stick with the medium shod runners as best as you can. I mean, 6 laps doesn't sound like a long time. Here at the Nordschleife, as we said, about 45-minute race duration, all being well for the drivers. So those who are on the hard tyres, all from 5th place downwards, they've just got to make sure they keep in touching distance of the cars in front, and they will be in a good position come the end of it, because of course they'll have quicker tyre compounds to run in theory. So looking at Sedjak then, sitting in the wheel tracks here of Maximilian Kroll, and Sedjak, as I said, finished on the podium in Berlin last year. The Polish driver. Let's see what he can do here for Nissan. They are the 2023 Manufacturers Cup champions. Ferrari, they've never won a Manufacturers Cup title. Last time they were on the podium was back in Prague in 2024. Yeah,
Sedjak getting very close there in the GTR, but this is where you have one of the challenges of driving around the ring here. It's just, where do you pass? And when you do pass, you have to really throw it in. So here's Paul Ura. Bad qualifying for him, put him down in P7 for Team Mazda. What happened to him? Oh, just wide there onto the grass. I'd love to tell you what corner that is, but I've got no idea from this perspective. And down to P9, so it goes to bad to worse. Actually now in P10 is Paul Ura, so really having a bad start to this race here this season in the Manufacturers Cup for Team Mazda. Meanwhile, we go back on board with Sedjak, and both him and Kroll, I think, have closed up a little bit onto the back of Serrano now. So Serrano maybe not as quick as we first thought there, or maybe these guys keeping a little bit extra in the tank, but Sedjak now really starting to push Kroll along. I think he's starting to get a little bit impatient, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. We're coming in towards the first traditional Nürburgring circuit, the second half as we look at it. Let's have a look at Jack Balding, Maximilian Kroll, and also Mikołaj Sedjak at the start of this race. And as this is coming down into the Dottingerhöhe, you can see side by side there between the Ferrari and the Nissan. Sedjak looking for that move on the outside, but Kroll just about managing to cover him off at this particular point. We cross back to live racing action then here. So Sedjak it is that's still in third position. He hasn't managed to find his way through on the German driver for now, but as you say, certainly signalling a statement of intent here, because he's all over the rear wing of that 296.
And Serrano now also back into it. So I thought maybe that this would be an easy run for Serrano, but the top three really close now. And Sejak is starting to get a little bit impatient. Where do you pass it on this version of the circuit? I think maybe you can have a go up here. If you've got a slipstream, you see Kroll there pulling out to try and not being on the draft for whatever reason. No BOP to try and hide here, but then now it's just free abreast. Look at this, how close this is after almost a lap here of the ring, coming now down through down the hill. Speed's really high at this point, and now you have to try and pick your braking point. You're braking uphill here, so you can brake quite late, but really easy to overdo it and end up on the curbs and then end up in the wall, like we saw Paul Ura did earlier on in the lap.
Wouldn't mind being in Jack Baldwin's cockpit at the moment. He's got box office seats to this trio of drivers in front of him as it stands for the time being. The top three, as you can see, separated by just about half a second or so as they head towards the end of this first lap. Now, I wonder if we're going to get the hard shod runners coming in at the end of lap one and going on to either the medium or the soft competitive tyres. That might be our first time we'll see a divergence in strategy as Sejak just brushes the grass on the outside there.
Mate, you don't get away with that very often at the ring, I tell you that. So Sejak there doing well to keep the car pointing the right way. And now we come back onto the GP circuit. So this might be traditionally the best place to pass if you're close enough. But you see Kroll and Serrano already sort of eking the gap out a little bit from Sejak behind. Balding is still there or thereabouts behind, so the top four all have pulled away, unsurprisingly, on that softer compounder tyre, the medium, softer than the hard compounder. I know what I'm saying. It's a medium compounder tyre. And Moreno there leading the hard tyre runners. So, of course, all tyres must be used, the medium, hard and the soft, and that will come into play a bit later on. Now, we use the cut through here, not the full GP circuit, which is a really tough corner from this angle, because on the exit, the road falls away from you. You can end up going off into the grass on the outside. So there is our Dunlop tyre strategy down in the bottom left-hand corner there. The soft tyre, we think only good for one lap, and these mediums only for two. So Serrano's only going to have one more lap of pace at the front before having to choose which way to go.
Absolutely, and we have seen drivers bucking the trends of that in the GT World Series pretty much ever since day dot, so let's wait and see whether that strategy will prove to be the one that they'll follow, or whether we'll see anybody coming in at the end of this pit lane. Don't think it'll be the case for the medium tyres, because of course they're quicker than the hard shod runners that are out on them at the moment, so we'll come across the line. Serrano it is, of course, that will still lead with Kroll and Sejak, so they blast past the pit lane and head down towards the Dottinger Hill. We're coming towards the end now of this first lap. The gap to Moreno, the first of those hard shod runners, up to nearly 5 seconds, so you can just see how different it is in terms of the pace over the course of this lap, because especially where it's one at a time and there's all these medium speed corners, you're just eking out a tenth here, a tenth there, and that gap has built up quite significantly as we come to the end of that first tour here.
So here it is, probably the second opportunity to overtake here. A huge straight. Here comes the slipstream in action. Looking back there from Serrano, that Ferrari already starting to catch in the slipstream there. We'll have just a little bit extra, a little bit less air resistance. So the car now putting up to the back of the rear wing. Maybe he's close enough. Serrano is very heavily defending the inside here, but it might not matter. There goes Kroll, maybe up into the lead. Yeah, just about by up into the lead goes Kroll in Team Ferrari. So all it took there was a long straight, and now the home favourite, Team Ferrari, up into the lead, but only for now. Serrano is now glued to the rear end of that Ferrari, and we know he's not going to let him get away.
I tell you what, it does make things interesting though, because the Dottinger Hill, normally it's down halfway down that straight, really, you see moves being made, but it's right towards the end of it, so you have to have a lot of commitment, especially going through that left-hander at the end of it. So good stuff from Kroll there, great from Jose Serrano. Decided not to fight that one too much, did he really? Tried to defend it on the inside, but he knows it's going to be in vain, such is the length of that Dottinger Hill straight. So now all he's got to do is sit there behind Kroll, hope that either the German driver makes a mistake here at this reverse Nordschleife layout, or Serrano can just maybe save a bit of tyres, save a bit of fuel at this early stage of the race, and just maybe work out where Kroll's weaker, because coming towards the end of it, that could prove to be the difference between, you know, winning and losing this one potentially.
Mate, you see Kroll climbing all over these curbs, and some of them, you know, I think maybe his luck might run out at some point. These curbs, they're very high here on the Nürburgring, and if you touch them in the wrong way, they tend to just spit you out. So Kroll there playing with fire, but that's the pace you need to bring to these competitions. You need to really use everything at your disposal which right now Kroll is trying to do to build a gap from the reigning champion, Jose Serrano.
Antonio Santos, meanwhile, has just dropped behind Kylian Drumont, so the Frenchman is up into 5th position. So clearly, Santos has made a mistake on that lap, or just been passed on the Dossinger potentially. But yeah, half a second or so, relatively speaking, for the gap between Drumont and Santos. Maybe it's just an overtake there for position between those two drivers. But either way, good news there for Kylian Drumont. The gap, though, between the hard and the medium shod runners now up to 6.5 seconds here as we're on lap 2.
Yeah, we're looking really, really interesting strategic options opening up here for our drivers. I mean, I was just looking at Kylian Drumont there when you were chatting to me, Tom, and he's gained 4 places since the start of his race. So he is moving. So he is quick on that hard tyre. Maybe we don't see it particularly now, P5, but that Audi, he was saying it's quick. So here's a look back. Here is Drumont and Santos. Moreno there, just a sitting duck in a straight line, getting just split there by Santos and by Drumont. And you must think of your Moreno, oh, God damn it. What can I even do about that?
Ricardo Zonta Simulator 2026, that's what that was. Look at this.
Brave Drumont was there.
Super commitment. Good also awareness from Santos just to give him that racing room on the inside. Fantastic from Kylian Drumont and also Antonio Santos. Sad there for Moreno, but it might come back to him a little bit later on. He's still sitting on the coattails of the Lexus in 7th place as it stands for now. Point to mention as well for the likes of Pol Ura and Miroslav Kravchenko. I actually shared the taxi with them from the airport over to the venue here in Milan, from Kylian Drumont and also Antonio Santos. Sad there for Moreno, but it might come back to him a little bit later on. He's still sitting on the coattails of the Lexus in 7th place as it stands for now. Point to mention as well for the likes of Pol Ura and Miroslav Kravchenko. I actually shared the taxi with them from the airport over to the venue here in Milan yesterday and was chatting away to them. They were saying that basically the cars that they're driving, the Mazda and the Lamborghini, not the fastest out there on track. They've struggled a bit with the balance of performance updates for 2026, and as such that's why they're a fair way off as it stands for now. They'll be hoping for a bit more fortune and hopefully a little bit more pace later on this year. Now, delighted to be able to welcome to the commentary box Nico Menzel. Nico, great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, you know the Nordschleife very well. What do you make of it in reverse?
It's unbelievable. I almost do not recognize it anytime. But, you know, it's actually, now I can see there's a crazy track we're racing in. Because I think we are used to drive the normal Nordschleife. And now you can actually feel the quick corners, the craziness about the barriers being so close. And it's great. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the scariest part is the idea of coming down from Mudcove to Bergwerk at like 280 kph and then having to stop at the end there. I just can't imagine that in real life. But obviously, Gran Turismo here has a very accurate version of the ring, and you're very familiar with this Porsche here. I mean, did you find yourself using the simulators to try and prepare for these events?
Yeah, for sure. I also prepared myself for the 24. I mean, I'm used to drive this car on this track for many years, but still to get back in the rhythm, you know, after a while not being in a car is always helpful. And especially I practice the night, because the vision and then the night is obviously different. I also practiced the bad weather in the night, which is very special on this track. And honestly, it helped me a lot during the night, especially just getting in the rhythm quicker. And it's fairly crazy to see, you know, Arenberg-Kurve. And Schwedengrad should be easy flat out that way, but another good opportunity for an overtake now following all the way up to Flugplatz.
Yeah, you can see Serrano here sitting in the wheel tracks of Maximilian Kroll as we come over that crest of the hill. He's going to pull to the outside of the Ferrari then, so it's Ferrari versus Porsche, Serrano versus Kroll, and Serrano then with the outside line, which is going to flick to the inside line as they come over the crest and go into the left-hander, and the Spanish driver back through and into the lead once again. Fantastic commitment from Serrano and great driving also from Kroll.
It's so foreign to me seeing these guys go that quickly. Like, there's no exit there for the Flugplatz. It's so mad. I mean, obviously we had the 24 recently. Very interesting experience for everyone involved. I mean, how would you think if you have any advice to give these guys now? Of course, completely different experience, although maybe slightly similar. How would you? What advice would you give these guys driving on this circuit in this configuration?
I think it's about initial driving, really. Nordschleife requires a lot of initial driving skills, and I guess it's the same now going reverse. The trickiness, as you just said, is like, as now we can see the replay, slipstreaming all the way, using the side draft, also very important, and especially Lüttinger, but also here, it's not only the slipstream following a car, but also the side draft, because at some point it slows you even down, so you gotta you got to actually move to the side at some point to avoid that wave of airstream. You do not have the exit curbs, right? I mean, the exit curbs are now on the entry, and you used to try to use them to prepare your car better into the corners. But not having the exit curbs makes it even more special. So stay more or less on the tarmac, I'd say.
That's a good tip. Stay on the tarmac. I like that one.
So we're coming towards the end of this second lap now here, and I think we're going to start to see the pit stops coming through from these medium shod runners, because they're coming towards the end of their tyre life, really. According to the strategy that we saw on screen earlier on, about 2 laps is what we're expecting for the medium runners. So that would be Serrano, Kroll, Sejak and Balding all in to the end of the pit lane. Let's wait and see what they will do then, whether we'll see any changes further behind as well for those hard shod runners. Drumont, the gap now up to nearly 10 seconds between Balding and then the Frenchman. So in towards the pit lane we are about to go then, and surely we're going to see some drivers coming in, but the medium shod runners think they can get another lap out of it here then.
You know how this works by now, Tom. You get your strategy and it gets thrown out the window. Although, mate, I don't know if there's like another pit lane or anything, because the start and finish line's in a different spot.
No, it's definitely the pit lane. It's the normal pit lane.
It isn't just like the TF car park or something.
Well, Eura's just come into the pit lane to give you an idea.
All right,
there he is.
I don't know about you, Nico, but when I see this, I get like a shiver. I'm like, oh god, they're going the wrong way up the pit lane.
Honestly, all the time.
But that's interesting as well for the hard shod runners, because you've got 4 or 5 drivers that haven't pitted there. Eura and Moxon, they've decided to try something differently here. So, I mean, that's a good thing for them in terms of they're now going to have a bit more pace here, Nico. But the problem is they're going to be on sort of more worn, softer compound of tyres later on in the race.
Yeah, but I think like the medium guys, they could actually manage their race a bit better because they had more or less free air, especially the first 2 guys, not fighting that much, and just trying to save the tire as much as they can to just have one stop in the end. So I think there is a bigger benefit in the end to probably go whatever, like 3-4 seconds a lap slower, but therefore you don't have to stop another time.
So looking at Kroll here then in second position. Serrano, as we know, of course, back through into the lead last time around. Look at the gap that the top 2 have now been able to build over Mikołaj Sejak then here. Just looking at the sort of difference in sector times, Kroll was actually fastest overall in the entire race on that first sector, I beg your pardon, of the lap. And that was about 1.8 seconds quicker than Sejak. So clearly, I think the Polish driver's made a mistake.
Catch him, and here's a replay of maybe why that was. So it's just after the Dr. Her here, and he comes for this very tricky carbon cop there, just grabs the grass and then the wool, and just so easy to do that anywhere on this circuit here. What I was going to say is that, plus maybe some other things, he does have a lot more tyre wear than the cars around him. That front right tyre is looking pretty second hand there for Sejak, and he's got to bring that now all the way around the circuit, which is now a anti-clockwise circuit, so that's going to be tough for Sejak.
Do you think there could be a legacy of the drivetrain layout? It's a front engine, rear drive car, obviously more weight over the front axle, and that's causing the front tyres to scrub a bit.
For sure. I mean, once there is more force on the tire, it also gets stressed more. But probably you're not in the rhythm as you are, going the right direction, and you overturn the car here and there. So I think it's all about managing the driving style. Just turn as much as you really need, and overturning the front means also you scrub the front, you overheat it a bit, and therefore front tire can also have a bigger drop in the end of the day. I think this part honestly is one of the most scariest, isn't it? Going all the way down and now into the carousel. Crazy.
Yeah, it's where I had my unceremonious crash earlier when I was trying to drive it. You go down and think, oh, okay, and the front's loaded in the rear way, you try and brake and nothing happens, and you just go straight off into the woods. Obviously not ideal for our competitors, but turning into a bit of a 2-horse race now on the medium runners. It's Serrano and Kroll. Sejak is starting to maybe bring a little bit of that gap back. He actually had the fastest sector 5 of anyone, the last sector they went through just then. So the pace is still there for the Nissan driver, but the damage is done there at that earlier incident.
Keep an eye out as well for Eura. The gap there, 17.5 seconds between himself and Hafidi. That's going to come down because, of course, he's now on a quicker compound of tyre and a new compound of tyre. So let's see what sort of inroad he's going to be able to make now he's in clear air. You can see Maximilian Kroll all over the rear wing once again here of Jose Serrano. This is where, of course, we're getting into the circuit now will open up as we head in towards the sort of second half of it. You can see Serrano there just taking a wider sort of V line through the corner, but Kroll all over the rear wing here of this Porsche. It seems like a case of when and not if he's going to try and attack. We're going to come over the crest of the hill. Serrano just able to defend. Kroll gets out of the throttle a little bit early, just biding his time at the moment.
Look how steep it is down there. You never realise it when you're going the other way up there, but you almost fall down.
17%, on that occasion.
Ridiculous, 17%.
Steepest
imagine trying to break down that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So if you're Maximilian Kroll here, Nico, you're sitting in this position in P2. Do you think it's a case of attack, or would you be sitting there waiting?
Honestly, in this part of the track, you're more the waiter. You're trying to have, like, as he does now, 50 meters distance to the car ahead, because otherwise you just scrub your front tires and you destroy them. I mean, GT3 cars, it's a lot of dirty air, a lot of aerodynamics, and it's all about saving the tire for actually then the GP circuit, to make benefit out of that, having a good front axle there, and there you can overtake better, and it was in the grass there.
Serrano just pushing the envelope here. He's got to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap, surely. I mean, those front tyres and the rears actually now are going to start crying out as we get already to the halfway stage of this race here at the Nordschleife. As you said, pretty much a two-horse race at the front, Jimmy. 2.7 seconds they've now got over Mikołaj Sejczak, just a point on Pol Jura. Gap was about 17.5 seconds. It's already down to under 16 seconds now.
Well, I mean, the question that's sort of being posed to us now, you think about it, these guys have made the medium tyre last another lap. Is that Dunlop soft tyre also going to last another lap? So, I mean, we tend to find that the name of the game is to just don't use the hard tyre. Hard tyre is lava. It has to be used, but it's just very slow. But we're seeing that on the other end of the spectrum there. Some of these guys are trying to take that hard tyre for as long as possible. So I wonder if that is just not the play, because that tyre at this point hasn't worn that much compared to there. As we see another fight for the lead here. Here comes Kroll cruising back by Serrano. I never thought that would be an overtaking zone, but it seems to be our most overtaken zone of the race so far.
Yeah, to the delight of the Italian crowd here in Milan as well. They'd like seeing a Ferrari go through for the race lead here.
It's unbelievable, the crowd, honestly. I've barely seen something like it. I'm really...
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's amazing. It really is genuinely the loudest I think we've ever had in the GT World Series. So we're coming towards the end of the Nordschleife layout, as it were. We're going to be heading in towards the pit lane before long with these race leaders. Hengse there been given a warning for colliding with another car. Where's he? P8 at the moment in that Toyota. Different manufacturer for Hengse. And we'll see how he's going to fare over the course of this season. But so far, it's not been a particularly brilliant start to their year. They, of course, are former champions, but the pace, clearly the BOP, not working out for them at this early stage of 2026.
At that stage now, it's very important to be close to the competitor in front, because you know you're going to enter the GP circuit right now. So now it all opens up. It's a wider track, and now you have opportunities to overtake. So you're going to push all the way, like the last 1-2 kilometers before you actually enter the GP circuit, to be in a good overtake position, which did not really work out because the Ferrari had actually better traction out of.
Let's have a look here at Moreno and Santos then. This is in the battle for P6 in the race. Down the Dottinger Her, Moreno there using the slipstream to his advantage quite nicely and getting through on the Lexus.
But that's also the side draft effect. You see, now the car on the left actually regains some ground, and seeing like onboard sitting here, he should have actually moved to the right to be in a better position and to not give him that comeback on the straight. So it's not only slipstream but also side draft, really.
So coming towards the end of the lap, we're about to go then with Kroll, Serrano, Sejczak and Balding. Surely they're going to have to pick, because those medium tyres are going to be absolutely crying for mercy now at this point. You can see there, especially for Sejczak and Balding, those front tyres, of course, front engine rear wheel drive cars for both the Nissan and the AMG, they are in a much worse state than the top two, as they do then jink over to the left hand side, and they will come in for their first pit stop in the race so far. Now, which way are they going to go in terms of tyres? Do they go for the hard tyre, try and do one lap on those and then try and extend the softs as long as they possibly can? Of course, they did one lap longer than we were expecting them to do on the medium tyres at the start of this one. And does everybody else follow suit? So Kroll and Serrano go onto the soft tyre then here. Sejczak and Balding going for the hard tyre.
So for Sejczak and Balding now, they're going to have to just do their best to try and get this hard tyre through the next lap as quick as possible. I have to think that soft tyre is capable of doing 2 laps. We will see now. I mean, this is the first time someone's used a soft in this race. We keep an eye on their tyre wear, but that must be the play, surely.
Well, keep an eye out as well for the likes of Drumont, Santos, etc. All of those drivers who were on the hard tyre, they've now pitted onto the medium competitive tyre. The gap, 15 seconds before those pit stops. So surely they're going to be taking that time out of them hand over fist.
One interesting scenario, though, you box quite a bit before the start-finish line, so you have to really think about that when making the play. It might also mean that you could use your hard tyre before coming to the end of a lap, because surely you can box in the last lap, put on the hard tyre, and just run to the lap. With that, you have to use it once. It doesn't say 1 lap, though, does it?
It's true. It's a very good point. What do you think?
Well, that's how I think Michael Schumacher won the race.
Yeah.
20 years ago in F1.
Oh, yeah, and in Silverstone.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's have a look then at the race lead, changing hands between Jose Serrano and Max Kroll then. So the Spaniard now back through in the Porsche. This battle continues to rain on. They flick it through into that left-hander, taking absolutely no liberties on the soft tyres on this outlap.
They have to push this now. This is a push tyre. You have to go as quick as possible, make the most of it. You can see the car shuffling as it goes over the bumps and all the little crests there. And these two, what performance from Kroll. You know, a relatively unknown driver for us, but he is hustling one of the greatest GT drivers of all time in Jose Serrano. So really good performance to him and Team Ferrari so far.
Well, Nico, we must let you go and watch the race with the rest of this Italian crowd here. Thank you so much for joining us in the commentary box. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing what happens over the remainder of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Have fun, guys. And it's going to be a good final, I think.
Thank you very much, mate.
Nice one.
Cheers.
Cheers, fella. Thank you very much indeed. So, Jack Boulding, we now ride on board with then in the wheel tracks of Mikołaj Sejak's Nissan. Over the crest of the hill we go, flicking it through into the right-hander. Both these drivers on the hard competitive tyre. You can see Paul Ura, he's at a position now at this point. He's on the medium competitive tyre, having pitted a lap or so sooner. He's made good ground up into P5. He's going to have Drumont bearing down on him, though, before too long, because he's about 3.5 seconds behind the Spanish driver in that Mazda for now. So let's keep an eye out and see how this will work, because Ura is in that position where, as I said, he's at a sequence, so he's going to have slower pace than the soft-shod Drumont, but also those tyres are going to be wearing out quite quickly here. So let's see how it goes here for Paul Ura, and also crucially for Kylian Drumont. That gap down to, what's it now, 8 seconds. It was, I think it was 15 according to our timing screen prior to the pit stop.
I'll let you be the keeper of the Paul Ura time there, Tom. I've been looking elsewhere, so that's your one there. But as you say, tyre wear now is essential for the guys at the front, because they have to push this tyre as much as possible to try and defend from these guys who are going slower right now on that hard compounded tyre. But it's all the strategy is going to become clear at the end of this lap, basically. So we will just have to wait and see, and hopefully they can get through in one piece. Here's Kylian Drumont, so someone who's on the soft tyre. He's made up a lot of positions so far, currently up 3 from his starting position in that Audi, and looking quick as well. So just a poor qualifying session from him, really. That really hindered him at the start there.
Yeah, well, of course, he's changed manufacturers. He's gone from Subaru, spent many years with them, won the title in the Manufacturers' Cup back in 2022, let's not forget. And I spoke to him last night. I said, what was the idea behind changing from Subaru? You've been with them for so long. He said, I just think the Audi's got more potential. I've tried it out in testing. I've been doing loads of laps with it, and I think it is going to be the car to beat. So he clearly is confident with that. The results haven't materialised so far in qualifying, but now he's doing this alternative strategy. Is this going to be what will bring the Frenchman into at least the fight for the top 5 and to get some points on the board in this opening round of the season?
Yeah, I mean, what a place to do this for the first time here at the ring. These guys, fresh from the winter, having their time off. Like, a nice, easy way to get back into the GT World Series. Nope, Nürburgring reverse, and some have adapted better than others. Unfortunately, Kravchenko for Team Lamborghini, we've not really spoken about him. It's because he's just unfortunately been nowhere in the race. He's about 30 seconds behind the nearest competitor there, really struggling. So not the start that Team Lambo would have wanted to this World Series, the Manufacturers' Cup, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, nice to see him on the international stage, Miroslav Kravchenko. Lovely chap, actually. And unfortunate for his start to the season, and indeed the team start to the season so far. But, as you say, 35 seconds off the back of the field at the moment. So clearly he's had some kind of an incident, maybe hit the wall or something along the lines of that. Now, Kylian Drumont, the gap was about 3 seconds or so earlier on in the lap. It's now down to 2.1 seconds. It's a case of when and not if that Audi is going to launch an attack here on Paul Ura's medium shod Mazda. Have a look at some battles going on then here between Serrano and Kroll. So we saw Serrano back through on Maximilian Kroll, but he ran it a bit wide there, just through the left-hander off onto the grass. That's about as close of a warning sign as you're going to get.
It just goes to show around here. I mean, you really can't make any mistakes, because any small offline mistake and you just find yourself immediately in the grass. And luckily Serrano was able to avoid the barrier there, but that hasn't allowed Kroll to get right back onto the rear spoiler there of the Porsche driver. And we know that run up from Arenberg up towards the Flugplatz, that is now the run for the change of position. So here is Kroll, and bear in mind these guys will be doing little dress rehearsals as well for that final lap. Is it a good idea to pass here, or do I wait for the back straight? And the thing is, the start finish line is actually not that far into the Dottinger, so I think this is going to be probably where we see our pass for the win at some point. Here comes Kroll again. He's done this one before, he'll do it again. Ferrari back up into the lead as we come into the Flugplatz, and I wonder now what's going through their head in terms of strategy. Tyre wear wise, I do not think they can do more than one lap on this tyre. It has to be 2 on the hard, but these guys, if anyone's going to prove us wrong, it'll be these guys.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Just a point actually about Miroslav Kravchenko. I said he was quite a way off the back of the field. He actually hasn't pitted yet in this race. He started on the hard tyre. He is still on the hard tyre. So forgive me for that small indiscretion, but we'll wait and see whether Kravchenko is just trying something different, whether it will close him onto the back of the field. I think points are going to be fair way off of it for the German driver, but Kilian Drumont is the man on the move at the moment. Now 1.2 seconds off the back of Pol Ura's Mazda. That gap has slowly been coming down over the course of this one, and likewise Ura has also been breaking into the deficit of Balding in front of him. It was, as I said, about 8 seconds or so the last time we checked, now down to 5.2 seconds. The medium tyre, as we saw at the start of this race, about 2.2 quicker around this Nordschleife circuit than the hard tyre. So Sejak and Balding could be coming under pressure before the end of the next lap here.
Yeah, I mean, like in the real world, this Audi is a very nervous car. Short wheelbase, mid-engine as well. But Drumont doing a very good job to make it look easy at the moment as he slowly reels in Pol Ura in that Mazda. Pol Ura, of course, another very quick driver from Spain. We've got a pair of them here, and himself and Serrano. Kroll actually a little bit of a gap now, half a second towards Serrano, and they are coming round now to think about making their pit stop. So I do wonder. I mean, I'm looking. We have access to tyre wear here. We can see a little bit of that on our end, and it's a lot of the soft tyres are already down at about 50%. So. Here is our Dunlop pit stop prediction there. I don't think we're going to see more than one lap on that soft top.
That's a tricky thing, isn't it? You could try and eke it out, but if you do, they are going to be screaming in pain at the end of that penultimate lap. And ultimately, that's going to, I think, cost you more time than you will lose with another lap on what would be the hard compound of tyre then for those two drivers at the front at this point in the race. And indeed, they come straight into the box. No surprise there at all. So hard tyres to the end of the race for Kroll and Serrano. Sejak and Balding, of course, they are doing something different. They started on the... they're going to be on the soft tyre, aren't they, in fact, at the end of the race, because they went for the hard tyre in the middle stint. So that could bring them right into play in terms of closing that gap down. I don't know if it's going to be enough for them to be within striking distance, but never say never in the world of Gran Turismo. Either way, all three soft job runners, Kroll as well as Serrano and Drumont, all into the box. They go on to medium tyres for Drumont and hard tyres for the top two.
Now, this is interesting because they've come out in traffic with Moxon as well, who's on some fairly worn medium tyres, but we'll see what that pace differential is. And for Kroll and Serrano, ideally they're ahead of Moxon, but if Moxon gets ahead, that's really going to ruin their race plan. I mean, we had Nico here in the booth a second ago. He was saying that clean air super important around here. You have space in front of you, so right now that's okay. It looks like that Subaru is actually starting to fall off of the back there. We've always known historically it's not been the quickest in a straight line. Serrano there making his move back up into 6th position, and we think maybe the aggregate lead of the race. But this is where this race is going to start to get interesting, because Sejak and Balding, they owe a stop at the front on that hard compounded tyre, but they've got that clear air now. Then on the last lap they're going to have a soft tyre and they're going to be rockets. So I think on circuit it's going to have to be an overtake on circuit for it to work out, but this is where you have to get your calculators out. It gets very complicated here.
Well, let's have a look at the gap. What's it? 15 seconds, 15.2 seconds between Serrano and Sejak as it stands for now. Both those drivers are on the hard compound of tyres. Serrano and Kroll were in the race lead. That's what we expect at the moment to be that race lead. They are now starting to pull away from Moxon, which is good news, because the last thing that Serrano and Kroll needed to do is start getting involved in a fight, start squabbling amongst one another, bring them back into Moxon's sort of wheel tracks, if you like, allow him to have a dive up the inside, and then it costs them time, because at the end of the race they could lose position once those final pit stops have worked out for the leaders at the moment of Sejak and Balding. So on board we are then here with Kroll, and so him and Serrano, basically they've got to work together. They're tied here at this point until it comes to the point where they're not, right at the very end of this race, but they've got to play it so smart over this next lap and a half or so.
Well, I mean, you say that, I'm a driver. I understand sometimes that you aren't very smart when you're driving. You see the guy in front of you, you think, you know what, I can have him, I'm quicker, I should be the one leading this train. And that's where it gets maybe a little bit tricky. But they've been playing nice so far, these guys. There's been no silliness, but yeah, Max doing a good job in that Ferrari. Very quick, and we've not really seen Ferrari at the sharp end properly like this for a while. A proper contender here. So I know it's been a lot of suffering for Ferrari fans across the world, but maybe this is your year. Maybe.
Hey, we'll wait and see how it works out. Just looking at the gap again between Sejak and Serrano, it's actually increased up to now 16.3 seconds.
So
and Kroll all over the rear wing of the 911 as we come through into the carousel. You can't go 2 by 2 through there. You can see Kroll modulating that throttle as he tries to get the power down as soon as he possibly can. And as we come through in towards the left-hander, it's still as you were between the German and the Italian manufacturer for now. See them there on the bottom corner of your screen. Serrano on the left and then Kroll on the right-hand side of your picture.
I got to say, special mention there to Moxon, currently in 8th position, doing such a good job there. This is someone that only really used a gamepad until now, and now is moving over to the wheel and doing well on it. It's a hard transition to make. So yeah, good job there for Moxon and P8.
Yeah, and a particularly big transition to jump onto the international stage here in the GT
worse,
World
yeah.
Series with a very loud and passionate crowd behind you. It is a proper assault on the senses, and fair play to Callum Moxon sitting there in P8 in that Subaru. Let's see whether some points could be on offer for that manufacturer later on this season. Meanwhile, Kroll there again on the attack against the Porsche driver of Jose Serrano. Serrano again defending that line as we come through and flick it into the left-hander. We're heading in towards the sort of overtaking zone as we've found out over the course of this race so far, and you wonder whether Kroll is going to launch a move here on Jose Serrano. He's starting to look a little bit impatient, moving that car left, moving it right, and trying out a few different lines here.
I mean, I think the Kroll is faster because he's just stuck to the rear end of Serrano. I mean, there is a little bit of a draft you get from the car in front, but not this much. And I think that the reason that Kroll is so close is just he just has a quicker package right now. But Serrano, of course, ever the champ, just knows where to place his car, knows the strategy he needs to do to keep himself in the lead. But he's going to need all that experience now, all that skill, if he's going to keep this aggregate lead here from Kroll. So coming up now, this is Calvin Hart, but reverse as we now come down towards what is Adenauer Force. Say hello to the Rebel Tree on the right hand side. Hello Rebel Tree, hope you're doing well. And we move now down to where Kroll will be starting to think, okay, we are on the second to last lap. I know where I can pass him, but can he pass me back if I'm leading there? It becomes a bit of a chess game here, which feels a bit ridiculous when these guys are navigating a half marathon each lap of corners. It's insane.
Yeah, that gap had stabilised at about 16.2 seconds. It stayed roughly about the same over the course of the lap so far. You can see Kroll there just feathering the throttle, such as the overspeed that he's got here on Jose Serrano. And is he going to launch a move into the left-hander? Not quite at the moment, but again, he's there ready for the taking, ready to pounce. As we come through that left-hander.
Sorry, Tom, Serrano there was actually sideways on the exit, so really pushing the Porsche. So here comes Kroll, he's going to have a draft all the way up the hill now, so has the overspeed of Serrano in front. Serrano goes to the inside to defend all he can really do. Kroll goes around the outside. We've seen this move many times already, and Kroll back ahead of Serrano. That puts him, of course, in firing range for the Dr. in about a minute or so's time. So what Kroll really needs to do here is just try and make a gap on that GP circuit, try and get away. So obviously he's been saving a little bit behind Serrano here. Tyre-wise, they're looking quite similar, but if there's anywhere to push, he needs to push on that GP circuit. He needs about a second and a bit, I think, to stay away from Serrano. And right now, Serrano, likewise, is glued to the back of that Ferrari. So this fight is going to go down to the wire if it stays like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sedgwick and Boulding, as we know, of course, they're on the alternate strategy on that hard compound of tyre as it stands for now. So don't discount them from this one. Let's see whether that proves to pay dividends for them. But as I say, I still think Kroll and Serrano, I just think they're working quite nicely at this particular point. They're not costing each other too much time. They're not tripping over each other corner by corner. They're not sending one off, firing one on the outside. Sedgwick, meanwhile, has picked up a penalty. Red dot flashing next to his name. Presumably that's track limits, because we didn't see anything coming up on screen saying that anything's under investigation. So maybe he's just ran over a curb and been a bit too greedy. But either way, that could drop him behind Boulding here.
So he's done that just after the penalty line. So where is it? It's coming onto the GP circuit. It must have been a chicane here. Yeah, just maybe taking a bit too much there inside of the white line. And this is usually where you serve the penalty, right here. But he was awarded it just afterwards. So that means he's going to have to serve that penalty on the last lap. So any fight he's in, he needs about a second. The last lap. So any fight he's in, he needs about a second around him to survive that. So that's really going to change the landscape of this race. But it just shows you how hard he's pushing at the front there just to try and make that time up.
They're just about to come into the pit lane here as well, Jimmy. So Sedgwick and Boulding are about to come in. Likewise, Jura, Hengsei and Moreno, who were, as we said, a little bit out of sequence earlier on in this one. So we'll see what it looks like between Jose Serrano and Kroll as they come through this final sector. Then they do not owe another pit stop in this race, just to remind you, as it stands for now. So Sedgwick in, Boulding in, as well as Pol Jura, Hengsei and Moreno. So 2 hard shot and 3 medium shot runners, and look at it, a plethora of soft tyres, which is going to be such a headache for the likes of Kroll and Serrano at this one. They're going to be on the hard tyres right now to the end, and is it going to leave them vulnerable on this final flying lap, or are we going to see the top 2 still battling amongst one another for victory? So through into the left-hander we go, back onto the Nordschleife for the penultimate time. It's Kroll that leads from Jose Serrano, half a second, but what's the gap to the likes of Sedgwick and Boulding? That's the important one. 10.5 seconds. Of course, Sedgwick, as we know, has got that half-second penalty. It's not insurmountable, because it's about 6.6 seconds over the course of a lap is what we reckon the delta is between the hard and the soft tyre. So that could bring Sedgwick and Boulding right into play in the closing stage of this one. Eyes, though, on the front of this race, and eyes on Jose Serrano blasting to the inside, down the Dottinger Hill on Max Kroll as we come in towards the left-hander. The Porsche, once again, is back through on the Ferrari into the lead.
You know, Max is probably going to allow that, because he's not thinking about this pass here. He's thinking about the pass up towards the Flugplatz in about a lap's time, or half a lap's time. So this is where now they need to keep his cool. If you're Jose Serrano, you've got to push now. You've got to try and make a gap. We've seen that this Ferrari has the legs in a straight line, so Serrano needs to use every bit of cornering performance from that Porsche in front there to try and get away. But what an impressive performance here from Max Kroll in that Ferrari. Doing so well here, and really showing that Ferrari can fight at the top.
I was just about to say, Drumont's done really well to get himself into 4th place, but Boulding's just managed to mug him on those soft tyres at the end of this one. So Drumont, he's got, 5 seconds over Pol Jura. That might be enough for him to hold on to a top 5 finish and bag a couple of points for Audi in his debut for that team. But Max Kroll, we're on board with him then here. 10 seconds the deficit down to Sedgwick, so they might be okay if they don't squabble too much over the course of this lap. If they start knocking 7 bells out of each other, it might allow Sedgwick to close the gap down and maybe launch something towards the end of it. But as it stands for now, it's Ferrari and Porsche that are battling for victory.
They just don't have the speed, Sedgwick, right now. He needs to really just up his game, to be honest. 9 seconds is a lot around here, and I don't think he's going to catch unless he really has a mega lap or these guys start fighting. Saying that, the gap is coming down, so never say never. We know how quick Sedgwick is in that Nissan, but he does have that penalty to contend with as well, that flashing red dot for a track limit warning he picked up at the end of the last lap. So it's got to be huge here from Team Nissan. But Serrano and Kroll, these guys have been just tied together for the entire race, it feels like. It's been awesome viewing here as Serrano really pushing now down towards the carousel. Really easy place to get things wrong, of course, if you saw from my footage a bit earlier on, as the sun begins to set here, and Kroll really attacking the entry of the carousel here right onto the back of that Porsche. Familiar sight for him, but What a great fight this has been so far.
What a great job as well from Max Kroll. Let's not forget this, the GT World Series. Let's have a look at Boulding and Drumont. We saw they were under investigation for a collision earlier on. There's Sedgwick up in front with the penalty. Through the mini carousel we go. Boulding just gives a little tap to the rear. He's going to slide his way to the inside. I think that's okay, to be honest with you. Bit of rubbing, bit of racing, and a bit of confusion. But either way, Boulding through on the Frenchman in the Audi for 4th place for now. But Serrano and Kroll, the drivers that we've got our eyes on at the sharp end of this one, with just over half a lap to go here in the first race of the Manufacturers' Cup in 2026. And Kroll looking aggressive, looking menacing on the outside there of the Porsche, but no way through for now.
These two guys absolutely rocketing down towards Bergwerk now. Speeds of 270 plus kph. The front brake discs there glowing the force of trying to slow these cars down to that part of the circuit. Serrano, his mirrors full of Ferrari. Max Kroll has really shown the pace of this thing as we now come to what is realistically the last few places to look at overtake. Now, if you're Max Kroll, we know where he likes to try and do this. He's waiting for his run out of Arenberg up towards Flugplatz, but he needs to be close for that to work. He can't let Serrano get away. And right now, he's basically pushing the Spaniard along. This must be such a weird feeling for Serrano. He's been dominant over the last couple of events here, and now is really being made to work for it. We love to see it here, of course, in the GT World Series. Our first round of the Manufacturers' Cup Grand Final coming to a head here with only half a lap to go at the ring.
Well, we saw that Max Kroll is in the final year of his apprenticeship at the moment, and he's certainly earning his stripes in his apprenticeship in the GT World Series, this being his first event on the debut stage. He's all over the back of the old hand of Jose Serrano, looking for a way through, but Serrano blocks the line, holds the apex for now. We come through the left, then we come through the right. We're going to start the circuit beginning to open up as we head into the next series of it. And are we going to see Kroll being able to launch an attack? Will Serrano be able to defend any form of attack from the Italian driver? And of course the Italian crowd here in Milan, let's not forget, they would love to see a Ferrari taking the victory.
Such is the pace of these two, is that Sedgwick's only really managed to gain about a second on that soft compound tyre over the hards. These guys pushing really, really hard right now. And now if you are Max Kroll, you are thinking, right, okay, here is my chance to strike. What do you do though as Jose Serrano up the hill to defend this? I think you just have to sit in the middle of the road and hope maybe to make things difficult. You can't intentionally block here, but whatever happens now, we're about to get our answer.
So through into the left-hander we go then. Serrano it is that leads. Maximilian Kroll hunting him down then, trying to fight for victory, fight for Ferrari's first top step of the podium since 2024. Serrano, of course, the reigning champion with that Porsche team, would love to continue where they left off at the end of 2025. Let's see, though, how it is all going to work out. On board we ride here with Max Kroll. Serrano defending the line to the inside, forcing Kroll to the outside. Side by side they go, and Serrano does manage to hold on to the race lead for now, but has Kroll got anything left in his pocket? Can he launch an attack and a retaliation on his way through the next series of corners again in the slipstream? He looks to the inside, but Serrano defends that line, holds the apex and holds the race lead as we head and blast towards the GP circuit for the last time.
I thought we were going to see a huge crash there, Tom. He really had to go on the outside there, but Serrano obviously just waiting. I think he backed him up there on the apex and then just got away because Kroll was nowhere near where he was previously. And the result of that now is Serrano is still ahead and he's rapidly running out of chances to make this move for the lead. But that is experience. That is someone who's won the championship before, who's won Manufacturers and Nations Cup. You're never going to have an easy time racing Jose Serrano there, and Max Kroll finding that out the hard way.
So let's see how it works out as we head on towards the Grand Prix circuit for one more time. Of course, they'll go on to the Dottinger Höhe. That's where the finish line is. They clip their way over the curb. Serrano it is that still leads, 0.3 of a second in his pocket, and it's so difficult to fire one through on the inside here. There's not really an opportunity for Max Kroll. He's in the slipstream here. He's closing that deficit down, but he's not going to be there to launch one on the inside of the Porsche as we flick it through the left and then the right-hander. He needs to try and pressure Jose Serrano into a mistake, but we know that the wise old head of the Spaniard, relatively speaking to the young pretender of Max Kroll, he is so calm under pressure here is Jose Serrano, and he is soaking it up like a sponge.
Yeah, much better line up there for Kroll and Serrano, but we come into the arena section now, and really you're running out of opportunities to make this move. You have maybe one last lunge into the hairpin if you're feeling very brave, but we know Serrano's going to come for that. On board with Max Kroll now. You sense a little bit of desperation from the German driver in the Italian branded Ferrari as we come into now the last real proper overtaking zone. Looks maybe to go into the back of him. No, not quite there. And now it's a run up the straight into the Dottinger Höhe. Sedlak and Balding fighting behind, but I just don't think, Tom, there's enough time left.
No, Serrano got a really strong exit out of that final corner in particular, well, relatively speaking, as we come on to the second but last straight then here at the Nürburgring, and Serrano is going to be under pressure here from Kroll, but we flick it through the left, we flick it through the right. He needs to hope for a mistake from the Spaniard as we blast on towards the Dottinger Höhe for the final time. So it's Serrano versus Kroll, it's Porsche versus Ferrari for not the first time that we've said in the Gran Turismo World Series. And as we head towards the timing line, which of these two drivers is going to win it? Will it be the reigning champion or will it be the young pretender? As we get ready to take the checkered flag here, Serrano pulls to the inside as Kroll slipstreams him, and to take the checkered flag there's contact over the line and Serrano wins it for Porsche. A phenomenal drive from the reigning champion to continue where they left off at the end of the 2025 season. It's the Spaniard and the German manufacturer on top ahead of the German in the Italian car here at the Nordschleife, and Balding in the Mercedes AMG will take a podium on his debut in the GT World Series. Also a fantastic drive, calm, composed and controlled. As you said, Jimmy, there is no substitute for experience.
You have to think there, Kroll just lost that on the last lap. I think he had every chance to beat Serrano there, but maybe just didn't position his car in the right way coming out of Arenberg, and that was his place to overtake. That was his place to make that move and just couldn't quite get it done. But great to see Serrano there, still hungry and just always the man to beat. Of course, as we said, big congratulations to Jack Balding as well on his debut straight away on the podium for Team AMG. Strong start there for the German manufacturer, seeing them come back into the fray as well. But really the story today was about two people and two brands, Serrano and Kroll, and Porsche and Ferrari. A great battle there throughout the race.
Amazing job from Jose Serrano and Maximilian Kroll. Fantastic to kick off the GT World Series in 2026 with such a strong battle. There's Valerio Gallo, former Nations Cup champion. He'll be hoping to do the business in a couple of hours time when we get our first race underway there, but well